Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our next matchup for UFC 324. In this one, we have our featured bout as Waldo Cortes-Acosta takes on the KO King, Derrick the Black Beast Lewis. So for this matchup, you more or less have a simplistic matchup, a striker versus power puncher. I mean, we are talking about Derrick Lewis here, the KO King the KO King of the UFC, 16 KOs professionally as a UFC athlete, the most of any UFC athlete in the company's history, and of course, one of the heaviest hands in the heavyweight division. And meanwhile, it takes on Waldo Cortes-Acosta, who is a technically sound, more or less pressure-heavy striker, but also one who can fight off the back foot very well, and someone who can mix strikes with movement to control opponents. So this fight is going to be a good test to see whether Lewis's raw knockout power can overcome Waldo's disciplined striking and more tactical approach. Now, you look at these two, starting with Waldo. I gotta be honest, I didn't really think much of him when I first saw him, as his first fight I saw was against Andrei Arlovsky. It was one of the worst fights I had ever seen in 2024, and I didn't really think much of him. But then, slowly but surely, you saw how he kept improving fight by fight and clearly increased his skill level. And right now, you look at his last 5 fights, he's 4-1, beating Ryan Spann, Sergey Spivak, which I thought was very impressive at the time, as Waldo showed great takedown defense, good discipline striking, and showed he had improved. Now his only loss of recent was last August against Sergey Pavlovich, but since then Waldo's been doing great work. As in the month of November, he fought 2 times. First against Ante Delia, where he got his eye badly gouged and then knocked out Delia immediately after, and then 3 weeks later, on short notice, knocks out Shamil Gaziev in a round. So you can clearly see Waldo is one of the few heavyweight athletes in the UFC I've seen not only start off all right at best, but then slowly improve fight by fight and increasingly develop his skills. Meanwhile, Derrick Lewis had a pretty bad rough stretch after the Chris Daukaus win, as he lost to Tai Tuivasa, lost to Sergey Spivak. And it kind of looked like it might have been the end for the Black Beast. But since then, he's now 3-2 in his last 5. Lost to Sergey Spivak, like I said, but then came back, knocked out Marcos Rogerio de Lima, via flying knee. Then his most recent loss was to Jailton Almeida, which one was short notice, two was just a bad stylistic matchup, but there was more or less a moral victory, as Lewis wasn't finished in that fight, which was impressive. So now then, he's riding a 2-fight win streak, both by knockout. Knocked out Rodrigo Nascimento, and then most recently, last July, knocked out Taliesin Teixeira. So now Derrick Lewis gets a big step up in the rankings and possibly a shot at the top 5 once again. But we'll have to see it to believe it. But with that being said, let's get down to the breakdown. Starting with Derrick Lewis, he is, like I said, the knockout king, one of the most feared knockout artists in the heavyweight division. His style, pretty straightforward. Lewis comes forward, lands heavy hands, and forces opponent's mistake. As Lewis, I wouldn't say so much thrives in chaos as much as he thrives in making his opponents very reactive and not, very reactive, and not really planning their approach, more like reacting under duress. And even though Derrick Lewis isn't what I would call a polished striker, his timing, specifically with his right hand, is absolutely impeccable. Whether it's off the back foot when he lands the right hand, timing the uppercut on Curtis Blades, or being able to land over the top to Volkov. Doesn't really matter what kind of punch he's throwing with that right hand. Derrick Lewis's timing and ability to explode with that right hand is spectacular. Now, Lewis doesn't really throw high volume or maintain prolonged combinations. He waits for the perfect opening. And sometimes he doesn't necessarily do it by pressuring forward and landing it. Sometimes he is very gamesman. You see Lewis will play possum a few times, Like in his most recent fight with Talison Teixeira, when Teixeira hit him in the face, Lewis acted like he got hit in the eye. And then as Teixeira started to come in, that's when Lewis exploded and caught Teixeira with a left hook. But, and obviously, now I don't really know if the wrestling is going to play any factor. Now, Lewis himself doesn't wrestle at all. The only time I've really seen him wrestle was against Taichi Ivasa. But, yeah, of course, Derrick Lewis, with Derrick Lewis, jiu-jitsu isn't a thing. He just stands up. That's all he has to do. He'll just stand up. It makes no sense how he does it. But Derrick Lewis can usually just stand up out of any bad position, like, say, when Roy Nelson got the crucifix on him. And now, while I've said Derrick Lewis's right hand is his best weapon, and it is, he does have a good kicking game, more or less calf kicks, and really good with the left hook. But like I said, that right hand is his moneymaker. And even at 40, like he'll be 41 next month, Lewis, like I said, still has that explosiveness. And in the heavier weight classes, you can be around 40 years of age and still perform because power is the last thing to go at the end of the day. And usually in the heavier weight classes, power is the most important thing. Now, looking at Waldo Cortes-Acosta, he is definitely one of the more technically sound heavyweight strikers in the division. He's very good at blending in his power and precision. Waldo is one of the few heavyweights on the roster who can fight off his back foot. You see it just about all of his fights. Waldo usually kind of circles around the cage and waits for his opponents to come into his line of fire. And then, like Derrick Lewis, fires off the right hand. Now, Waldo is different in that he can mix in good calf kicks, good body kicks, and very persistent in his jab. He's sort of like a heavyweight Sean Strickland. Cortes-Acosta is very comfortable, like not hunting for the knockout, but when it presents itself, he will take it. But more so, very fine winning rounds just by landing more volume on his opponents. Like I said, whether it's the calf kick or the jab, Waldo is just proficient in that. Now, when it comes to his wrestling grappling game, Waldo doesn't really use that as much. Now, he smartly did it and exposed Robelis Despain's atrocious grappling in wrestling. But usually Waldo's grappling comes in his takedown defense. He's different than Lewis, where Lewis does get taken out. He just stands up. Waldo is very good at fighting off takedowns. Mostly through his hand fighting and his balance. Waldo has very good hand fighting when it comes to takedown. You saw that with the Sergey Spivak fight. But I think another big aspect for Waldo is his chin. He has seemingly an iron chin, as he took some bombs against Sergey Pavlovich and didn't really seem hurt. And while I actually thought, Ante Dalia TKO'd him, it was actually just due to the eye gouge. And even then, like, as you see Waldo covering up because his eyes hurt, he was taking some big shots from Ante Dalia, who hits really fucking hard. And again, Waldo was relatively fine. Waldo has an impeccable chin. Now, that'll be tested to the limit against Derrick Lewis. But if Waldo's chin is as good as it's shown in previous fights, I think he has a real solid chance of winning this fight. Now, looking at how their styles clash, it's classic timing versus power. As Lewis wants one shot, one clean knockout. That is all he really needs. As Dan Hardy had quoted, it does not matter who Derrick Lewis is fighting, whether it be DC, Cyril Gahn, Sergey Spivak. It doesn't really matter who it is. If Derrick Lewis lands the right hand, he wins, essentially. If he lands the one big knockout shot, he wins. He can be down on the scorecard, losing every minute of the damn fight, and all he needs is that one shot. Just that 1 minute to land the right hand, and he wins. But can he land that shot against Waldo? That's the question, because Waldo is going to be fighting off his back foot. He's going to be persistently jabbing Lewis's face off. And while I think Waldo could knock out Derrick Lewis because he's got some good power in himself, it seems his power has improved. As at first, it didn't really seem like Waldo was that much of a finisher. He has certainly turned up his power. I think it's probably a combination of Waldo's increasing improvements. Not to mention, Waldo was a former baseball player, so he has a fastball of a right hand. where instead of a straight shot, he throws it with a sort of curve and has impeccable speed with it. So it just comes at you. I think that's one of the big, and like I said, Waldo's timing also. So, it's very tough. Like, I think it's not so much who lands the right hand first that I think wins. I just think it's, can Waldo accumulate enough damage to knock out Lewis before Lewis lands that one solid hit? Because, you know, like I said, Waldo's has a iron chin from what it seems. I still wouldn't want any heavyweight with a good chin to take too many shots from Derrick Lewis and not worry that they're going to go to sleep. But for my official prediction, I'm going to go with Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Trust me, I really wanted to pick Derrick Lewis. I love Derrick Lewis, who doesn't, but I just can't, unfortunately. I think Waldo has too much momentum going for him right now. I think while Derrick Lewis is dangerous and can finish that fight at any moment, I just think Waldo's combination of precision, movement, and ability to fight off his back foot give him the edge. And if Waldo can impose his pace and avoid reckless exchanges, I think he should be able to neutralize Lewis's knockout threat while landing clean, effective strikes. So, for my official prediction, excuse me, I'm going to pick Waldo Cortes-Acosta. I think he can get a late TKO. I don't think he's going to get a first-round knockout, but I do believe he will knock out Derrick Lewis. I think in the first round, he's just going to pump the jab, find his distance, find his timing, and once he finds the opening, either late first round, or early second round, I think he's going to land the the right hand, and knock out Derrick Lewis. So, my official prediction, I'm going to go with Waldo Cortes-Acosta, and I'm going to pick him via knockout. With that being said, that's been my breakdown of this matchup. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on who you think is going to win. But until then, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. I hope you all enjoyed. Remember, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see y'all next time.